Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome everyone. Just going to do a quick recap video here of the National, which was in Chicago, and it was last weekend. It was from Wednesday to Sunday. It was a 5-day show. I was there for 4 of the 5 days. I got there Thursday morning, stayed through the end of the show Sunday, had an absolute blast. And yeah, I might do a sort of pickups video in a week or so. About a lot of stuff, a lot from dealers, new dealers, dealers that I've already met before, but also a lot from all of you. A lot of people came up to me in the aisles. Other people, you know, we scheduled meeting times ahead of time, but that was absolutely amazing. But the show itself, I mean, this is going to be sort of footage of the show floor mainly, and I'll just sort of talk through what I thought about it. In terms of size, like the number of dealers there, this was the biggest National ever. I've been to the National last, I think, 10 years or so, and I probably went to 2 or 3 before that. So I've been to a total of maybe 12 in my life, and including the last 10. And yeah, in terms of size, this was the biggest National ever that I've seen, and I would be surprised if there was ever a bigger one in terms of number of dealers set up. The National's in Chicago every other year, so it's in this venue. I've been to this venue, I don't know, 6 times now. But they had opened up extra rooms, which I had never seen before. I mean, it was twice as big as it was 4 years ago in terms of floor space easily. There's the big main room, but then there was a whole second main room, and then there were other smaller rooms attached to that. It was really pretty incredible. You could walk around the show all day, get completely lost, never figure out where you are. You never hit every table. There's no chance you would ever have enough time. There was an entire room just for breaking, and what you're looking at here is the line for the autograph guests. The autograph guests were amazing as always, and there's things set up for kids, like here's skee ball, and this kind of stuff is fairly new. I mean, they had it last year, maybe 2, but certainly didn't have that sort of thing 5 years ago where they had, I don't know, carnival-like events set up where you could play games in the middle of the show, and a lot of it's designed for around kids, but a lot for adults as well. Like, here's some, I don't know what this was, but you could win a car for $23 somehow. You could see that basketball hoop. I don't know what the event was going on there, but a lot of corporate booths. This is also fairly new. I mean, they had it last year, of course, but that's a much bigger part of the National now than it used to be. Is a lot of corporate events, and any major company brand name you've heard of had a major booth at the National. You saw Beckett just a second ago. Yeah, there's Beckett. That's where they're, I think Beckett had 2 booths. That's just one where they're taking submissions, and there's a corporate booth for Goldin. And like I said, basically every major company had a corporate booth. DC Sports 87, and there's market movers, and just that's a new thing with the National. There's this whole section, and I mean it's a big section, like more half of the show is just essentially tied to this stuff. And yeah, I mean, it brings more money in, I guess. I don't really know. I don't really go to these things other than to film in here. Here's the eBay vault. There's the women's bathroom, and SGC. All the companies had them, like I said. And in terms of like attendance, I would imagine that this was the most attended National of all time. I don't know if they have those numbers, or if somebody told me back in '91 there was more attended, or even 2 years ago, I'd believe that. But it was extremely crowded, particularly on Friday for some reason. And I would imagine this was the most attended National of all time. That's just my personal guess. And if you feel the health of the hobby is related to attendance at the National, which I mean, I guess it probably is on some level, right? It was I would say it was a very good sign. This was Sunday morning before the show opened. I got a special dealer badge. Got to walk in an hour early. If you're wondering how I got a dealer badge even though I wasn't set up, it's because your boy is a baller. But this is what the show looks like kind of before before the crowd gets there and dealers are still setting up. And a lot of dealer-to-dealer business happens in this hour. Also on the move-in day, which was Tuesday. I wasn't there for that day, but I was told this. Just a lot of dealer-to-dealer business before the show, and yeah, I witnessed some of that, which I sort of found interesting. There were, of course, trade nights every night, various trade nights and different events. Mike Moynihan had his get-together thing, which was super fun. That was on Thursday night. Got to meet a bunch of people, a bunch of other YouTubers. That was a total blast. Basically, it's just a 5-day excursion that's, for me, a complete and total blast. But the best part of all, of course, is hanging out with friends. Got to hang out with the Snowman for a couple days. We overlapped Thursday and Friday. Hung out most of those 2 days, and bought a few collections together. He actually has a pretty funny story about his flight, both flight in and flight out. I'll share those in a later video. But got to meet just a ton of people. A lot of people I've met in, through YouTube, but never met in person. There's a guy, Shane, who I've bought 2 collections from, but never got to talk to in person before. And here's got to meet him, and here's a clip I recorded of him. I'm here at the National with my boy Shane. I've done a couple of deals with him. A really cool Cal Ripken collection, and a really cool Michael Jordan collection.
Yes.
And he is one of maybe 40 people in the world who owns a 1980 orange border Cal Ripken, professionally graded, and he has decided to give it to me for free on the dog.
No way.
Just kidding. No, but yeah, say hi to Shane, everybody. And there's Jeremy Johnson, Texas Snowman, of course, as well. One other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was kind of cool is in the lobby on multiple days, just sort of people would set up on the floor, like you can see here, and they would create little aisles, and it was almost like their own little show, just set up on the floor of the lobby. Now, I imagine dealers weren't a big fan of this if you paid a lot of money for a table, but this was kind of cool. I mean, a lot of sort of kids were doing this, and you could, trade cards with each other, and I thought this was a nice sort of community thing that sort of broke out. I don't know if this was planned or not, but I found it interesting. But that's it for my sort of national recap. Like I said, I'll probably do a national pickups video in about a week or so. And, one last thought, I'm just curious to see what other venues can actually handle this size, this amount of tables and corporate booths and attendance. It's in Cleveland next year, then back in Chicago the year after that. I believe the year after that is up for grabs. Maybe Atlantic City's in the running, or Atlanta or Baltimore, something like that. But like I said, this thing was huge, and there was enough attendance to justify how many tables and dealer booths were set up. So curious to see how that is going forward. But appreciate everyone watching, and see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.